Good day, fellow adventurer, and welcome. My name is Matt, and today I will be doing my first Pathfinder 2e Remaster class overview. I'm going to start with the Rogue. I'm also going to try to keep these videos to about 10 to 12 minutes in length, so please bear with me if I don't cover everything on all of the slides. In the Remaster, the Rogue picked up a handful of new tools to help them in and out of combat. Rogues are now proficient with all martial weapons, not just a smattering of them, which is a subtle but important change. Rogue Resilience, gained at 9th level, gives a critical success on a rolled success, which is not often seen with expert saving throws. In terms of subclasses, Ruffian got one of the biggest changes, now able to deal sneak attack damage with any martial or advanced weapon, provided the damage die is no greater than a d6. Scoundrel can now step as a free action after successfully feinting with an agile or finesse melee weapon, possibly setting themselves up to get out of harm's way or into a better position to strike. Finally, Thief gained dexterity to damage on finesse unarmed strikes, which is possibly one of the biggest changes of the Remaster in terms of class benefits. Beginning with the Rogue's initial proficiencies, the Rogue can always select dexterity as their key ability score. Depending on their racket, this can change. At each level, they gain 8 hit points plus their con modifier, the lowest out of all non-caster classes. Starting off with Expert in Perception, Reflex saves, and Will saves is fantastic, as they are classically alert using their swiftness of both mind and body to gain the upper hand. The Rogue has an excellent amount of starting skills, at least 10 when you consider both background and racket. The Rogue retains its proficiency in only light armor and unarmored defense, but thanks to the Remaster, gains proficiency in all martial weapons. Though they will still lean towards agile and finesse weapons, this opens up a lot of new avenues for playstyles. In my opinion, the most notable weapon out of this list is the Alchemical Bomb, a ranged weapon that sneak attack can and will apply to. In terms of rolls, the Rogue is first and foremost a striker. They can deal immense amounts of damage with their sneak attack bonuses, and will want to create openings for both themselves and their allies to catch opponents off guard. With the best scaling perception in the game, the Rogue should also act as a scout, looking for traps and secret passageways to make adventuring easier. The Rogue can also fulfill an assortment of secondary roles thanks to their skill proficiencies, feats, and increases. With the proper allocation of ability score bonuses, they can effectively tackle any role that the party is lacking in. However, I wouldn't keep the Rogue on the front lines for very long. With middling hit points and defenses, they can and will get torn to shreds if intelligent enemies turn their attention. Even the Ruffian's medium armor proficiency isn't enough to salvage this, and I wouldn't recommend dipping into hardier archetypes in order to shore up this shortcoming. Instead, you should focus on the Rogue's strengths. Your most important choice to make at first level is your Racket, your own personal style and how you approach adventuring. In Player Core 1, you have 4 options to choose from. Please note that Eldritch Trickster is not featured here and is presumably coming at a later point in time. I'll be happy to discuss that in the future. Right now, I'll be talking about the Rackets in greater detail in the next slide. No matter what, all Rogues share their iconic ability, Sneak Attack. Whenever the Rogue can catch an enemy off guard, they gain bonus damage in the form of an extra 1d6 points of precision damage. This ability is paired very nicely with Surprise Attack. If the Rogue rolls Stealth or Deception for their initiative, all enemies are off guard to the Rogue until they act. This is a significant boon to the Rogue, and as such, one should certainly spend skill increases to improve one or both of these skills. Rogues also have the added benefit of receiving more skill feats than other classes, since Rogues gain an additional skill feat at every odd level. To further reinforce the idea that the Rogue is the gold standard of the skill monkey archetype, Rogues also receive more skill increases than most other classes. The Rogue has the added benefit of increasing skills at every level after first, instead of at every odd level. These two features are the prime selling points of the Rogue, in my opinion, and having such a wide breadth and depth of skill training and expertise could certainly make you a point of envy among the party. There are certainly way too many skill feats to cover in a class overview, but one should be vigilant and select the ones they would think would most benefit themselves as well as the party. In addition, Rogues also gain the Deny Advantage class feature at 3rd level, making it impossible for lower level enemies to catch them off guard from flanking. Debilitating Strike can be used as a free action starting at 9th level, allowing them to seriously hinder opponents they manage to catch off guard. Finally, their capstone feature, Master Strike, can incapacitate or even kill an enemy off guard. The most important choice that a Rogue will have to make is their selection of Racket, as this will most likely dictate what type of build the player will choose. Let's start with Mastermind. They lean heavily into Recall Knowledge skills, and it would behoove you to be proficient in all 5, as a success will make a creature be off guard to you for a round, and on a critical success, for a minute. The Ruffian can don medium armor, and will be more of a bruiser than the other Rackets. Since they can sneak attack with more weapons than the other Rackets, you will want to have a variety of weapons on you in order to cover your damage types. The Scoundrel is all about debuffing, and you will want to feint early and often, as the benefits they gain from it are immense. The free step action after a successful feint can also be used to reposition yourself advantageously, or slip out of an enemy's reach. Finally, the Thief, my personal favorite Racket, is the only character option in the game that gives you dexterity to damage on finesse weapons and unarmed attacks. This leads to some potentially devastating combos, which I'll touch upon later. The Rogue's advancement is nothing short of fantastic. They have the strongest perception advancement in the game, tied with the Investigator for receiving Legendary at 13th level. Where they stand unmatched is a Legendary Reflex save at the same level, and they will have decent will save progression as well. Interestingly, the Rogue's Fortitude progression also gives them a critical success on a rolled success, which is not usually seen on other classes. As with most martial classes, they gain Expert and Master proficiency with weapons at 5th and 13th level, with Weapon Specialization and its greater version 2 levels thereafter, respectively. Finally, Armor is a bit behind the curve here, but Rogues do get to Master at 19th level. The Rogue has a wide variety of class feats that open up different avenues of gameplay. Creating more ways to catch opponents off guard or having defensive options to shore up your fragility might be of utmost importance. At later levels, feats that give you additional options for debilitating strike could also be useful. Just remember that some abilities don't overlap with others. For example, Twin Feint doesn't actually have you use the feint action, so it won't get as much mileage on a Scoundrel as it would on a Ruffian or Thief. There are hundreds of archetypes in Pathfinder 2nd edition, so I'm just going to sample the cream of the crop here. For a ranged rogue, the Archer archetype is a fantastic way to bolster your abilities with bows, as your class feats provide little support. Hilariously, Thief rogues arguably make better monks than monks, as they now receive dex to damage on their unarmed attacks. Flurry of Blows can also be picked up at 10th level. For scouting, the Scout archetype is a no-brainer. Shadow Dancer is also an interesting choice as well, unavailable until 8th level, but it gives you greater dark vision. In the support role, rogues can qualify for the martial dedication without needing a general feat in order to gain proficiency with all martial weapons. Medic is a great support option as well, thanks to additional battle medicine uses. Lore Master is an easy choice for masterminds, as they would now receive a catch-all skill in order to recall knowledge. And finally, face builds might want to look into Dandy and Celebrity, as they provide unique avenues of play outside of combat. What I forgot to explain properly in my first set of class guides was to how to play the class. There are 3 pillars of gameplay in Pathfinder 2nd edition: Exploration, Downtime, and Encounter. In Exploration mode, you want to stay hidden and alert, and avoiding notice is perfect. Alternatively, you can search or scout, but be careful here, as you won't be able to roll stealth for your initiative check. In Downtime, the world is basically your oyster. Craft, earn income, create a forgery, whatever you want really, it doesn't matter. Finally, in Encounter mode, you'll want to catch enemies off guard as often as possible in order to proc sneak attack damage. Using cover to hide and sneak is one way to go about this, but you can also flank and feint in order to achieve similar results. Try to weave your way in and out of the fray if you prefer melee weapons, and have some utility on hand in case things go south. Just as a heads up, I won't be naming my builds in the series like I did in the last one. I feel like it takes away a bit of agency from the player, and to be honest, I hate coming up with new names. In any case, this Thief build maxes out your dexterity stat in order to deal the most damage with your rapier and other finesse weapons. Constitution lets you stay in melee longer, while Wisdom is fantastic at seeking out traps. In Exploration mode, this build wants to avoid notice to use Stealth for initiative, since Trap Finder allows you to find traps even if you aren't searching for them. The Ruffian adopts a more well-rounded build, focusing on strength and constitution as they are effectively a second frontliner. Orc Ferocity complements this well, and with improvements to Intimidation, this build can consistently apply the Frightened condition with demoralized actions in combat. A long spear is a great choice of weapon, striking from a distance while still being able to inflict sneak attack. An alternative option is to pick up a shield and possibly another weapon and use the defend exploration activity. Scoundrels certainly lean into the face roll the most out of any rogue, and this build capitalizes off of this. Feinting is critical to inflict off guard, but overextending feint can be used as a debuffing option to reduce the potency of opponents' attacks. Bon Mo's skill feat is a great option to lower targets' will saves, and your casters will almost definitely appreciate this. Do note that I still chose to have Dex as the class ability score, as I don't personally enjoy playing martials with less than a +4 in either strength or dexterity to start. The Mastermind build switches the charisma bonus from the Scoundrel and places it into intelligence. Starting off with 15 trained skills, yes, really, and a lore skill provides an almost hilarious amount of utility right out of the gate. Taking the Lore Master dedication at 2nd level will be important at recalling knowledge against any creature, and getting the off-guard bonus without having to be in melee is essential for a squishier build such as this one. To summarize, the Rogue has always been an incredibly versatile class, able to fulfill a variety of roles thanks to their additional skill feats and increases, in addition to their starting train skills. Though Rogues can certainly act as a jack of all trades, focusing in on a few key areas allow them to really stand out from the other 20 plus classes in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Overall, I give the Rogue a rating of A+, the second highest rating on my list. They are a very solid striker, with high burst damage thanks to sneak attack. However, their durability is a bit of an issue that will need to be compensated for when rounding out your build. Many of the Rogue's shortcomings that I had mentioned in my previous video are gone thanks to the remaster. With access to all martial weapons, the Rogue makes for a very dangerous character, and its only flaw currently is its mediocre hit points. You'll have plenty of ways to deal with the threats that are immune to precision damage now, and will not have to rely on weak simple weapons anymore. As this is a role-playing game, you should feel more than welcome to come up with your own way to play a Rogue. However you decide to build your Rogue is certainly up to you, the viewer, but this video is here to act as a guide to highlight the Rogue's strengths and weaknesses, and what you should look out for when playing as a Rogue. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for additional content. I plan on releasing one video of this type every week until I've covered every class in Player Court 1, so do stay tuned. I currently do not have plans on doing these videos in any sort of order, but we'll make sure that every class is covered. You can check out the slides in the description below, and of course, have a great day.